How to live life without regret. The life without regret can only be lived when there is this deep knowing of who you truly are. It's not something that can be conditioned into you in the human world. You can recondition the body if it's got a tendency towards regret or looking towards the past, like worrying about the past or thinking about what the past was, or just regretting. Lamenting, I think that's a nice word for it. Actually, is that a word, lamenting? I might have just made that word up, but I think it's a word. Over what has been, what should have been, what you should have done. Because life is this like amazing dance. We're always on the precipice of now. We never know the past, we never know the future, we never know what we choose, how that will affect us or not affect us. Like we go down one route and it might take us to total chaos. We go down another route and it might take us to medium chaos. And we go down a third route and it might take us to very little chaos. We don't know what's going to lead to what. What we know is this moment right now. And then in this moment, we're expected to choose on our best current knowledge as to what will pan out in the future. And it's never going to work, because sometimes your choices will be wonderful and sometimes they won't be so good. And you can recondition your body-mind mechanism to understand itself better, understand what it's picking, but it's kind of like it's got this unconscious which is in motion, and it's going to propel you in angles that you can't even tell. And sometimes it's going to be good, but inevitably you're going to meet your maker. You're inevitably going to one day do something which will lead to death. It's not even you, like it might be that, your body gets cancer or something, but one day something will lead to death. So there is going to be the end of the story. And the person's like, the game is to try to not get to the end of the story. So it's like, we've got to keep this going and we've got to keep juggling good things. And this is like so stressful for the person. It's also exciting for the person. The person enjoys this dance, but it's also very stressful. And so the only way really out of that stress, you can do things in daily living. You can live better. You can be more conscious of yourself. You can do more calming things. You can like create more stability in your life, like do things which create stability. But it's always going to be uncertain. It's always going to be as it is. And there'll be pleasure and there'll be pain along the way. But there is something else happening, which is a freedom. And that is the only freedom. Everything else comes and goes. It moves. So what is it that freedom is? And this is the main priority of freedom, is recognizing this, if that's what's wanted. And what is this? This is unknowable by the mind. It's unknowable by a person that thinks about itself, thinks about life, tries to work out life, reads books, tries to work out what this is. It's unknowable in that world. but yet it is knowing. It knows. It is. It's so unbelievable. I remember thinking that I existed because I thought, which in a way is true. The illusory I exists through thought, but I thought my sense of being, who I was, my looking, that which is experiencing this life existed because I thought, which is quite abstract really, because that doesn't make any logical sense, but that's what I thought. So I thought that I and my world existed in thought, and that thought was real. So I thought I was somebody called Lisa. I was a name, I was my past, I was my future, and I thought that the world was the world, and that I was in that world. And I thought these thoughts were true. And I thought I existed because of that. But then there's these awakenings that happen where it realizes, but it's nobody's realization. There is something that happens where it's seen that there is something beyond the me who I thought I was that's experiencing. And that whole thought also becomes like an energy, like an emotion, like a feeling, like a sense. Like I am somebody. Becomes like this sense, I am something. And I thought that was experiencing, but then there was this moment where it was seen that something else was experiencing beyond me, but it was the most intimate sense of being, but it didn't belong to me. It didn't belong to Lisa. It didn't belong to my past, my future, something I did. It was ever present. It was existing. And in that, this appearance of Lisa happened. And this looking, this knowing which is unknowing, it's not a known, it's not knowing in thought, it's an unknowing, but it knows everything, was empty, expansive, free, and it never belonged in form. It never was contained to a form. It was totally empty. Like totally empty. And that's not talking about the body. Like the body is empty in a way. It's not, it's something prior to the body. So the body can still feel things and have emotions and have thoughts. It's not about that disappearing. It's that there is something beyond that, but also encompassing all of that, everywhere and all things. And this is totally free all the time. It never suffers. It never suffered anything. And that's what's actually alive. I thought Lisa was alive, but Lisa is like a mechanism that's running, giving the appearance like a film running in this. Lisa doing this, Lisa doing that, Lisa having experiences, Lisa having reactions, Lisa having thoughts about what to choose or not choose. I thought that that person was alive. But when this recognition happened, I realized that Lisa was never alive. Lisa was a happening, something that was happening in experiencing, but the experiencer was beyond that. And the experiencer never suffered. So you couldn't always say nobody suffered. There was nobody that was suffering. And then it was recognized that was the same in all other bodies, but other bodies, the experiencer and the personality seemed to be intermeshed. So they thought they were alive. They thought they were experiencing. But really, they were never experiencing. They, the person, was an experience. And that which is beyond them, this expansiveness, this freedom, this love, never suffered, never had regret, never regretted anything. It loved everything, even if the person really screwed up and did something really bad and everybody hated that person. The experiencer didn't. The experiencer was free. It was loving. It loved, and it was who I was, the most intimate sense of being, but it didn't belong to someone. So when I say who I was, everyone's like, oh, that belongs to Lisa. So Lisa isn't enlightened. Lisa has dynamics. Lisa, your characters have dynamics, and this is what gets mixed up all the time in this enlightenment story. People think the person's enlightened, and then they're worshipping the person. And they're believing that the person is free, and that the person knows everything, but the person doesn't. The person is limited, just like everything else in this world is apparently limited. But there's something that's beyond that watching. There's something beyond that experiencing, and that is free. So right now, you are looking at me, believing that it's you looking at me. But who is this I that's looking at me? There is no I looking at me. There is everything looking at me. And in that, there is a character that's appearing. And then the energy gets sucked into that character, and then you think, the character is looking, the character is experiencing. That's not true. The character isn't experiencing, the character is an experience. So everything you've ever done, you've ever thought, you've ever felt, you've ever heard, you've ever seen, you've ever sensed, isn't you. It's an experiencing appearing in you. You are beyond that. You are beyond that. So back to regret, like how do you live a life without regret? You can't find that in the person. The person will have as much regret as it's conditioned to have. So if it had parents that were regretting, it will have that tendency towards regret, to look back onto the past, or if it was taught that way. But regret will significantly diminish when you really realize that the person is a happening. It's not in your control. It's not in somebody's control. And this knowing of that which is beyond you. Like there is this beauty, this emptiness that's beyond you looking. That's the only freedom in this life. Everything else comes and goes. Regret will appear and disappear. Joy will appear and disappear. So what is it that doesn't? There's this vast emptiness, this well, this never-ending well of emptiness and freedom and love. But it's not in time. It's here, here, here. It's not obtainable by the person because the person's being experienced in it. It's in the immediacy of what is. It's that which is experiencing. It's that which is looking. The person is being experienced. The person isn't an experiencer. Everything, your thoughts, your ideas, your wants, your needs, your disappointments, your hurt, your pain, your joy, your love, all of that is being experienced. You can see it. It's being experienced because you're seeing that you're seeing it in the film. You're seeing it in your life. The thoughts, the feelings, all of that is being experienced. So who is experiencing that? Who experiences that? Okay, we can go to questions now.